guys, and welcome back to my channel, Miss Crochet and Coffee here, and today we have a crochet tutorial which was a special request from one of my subscribers. So Ginger, this one is for you. Today's tutorial is on the crocodile stitch. Now this stitch, I'm not going to say it's for an expert. I'm just going to say you're going to have to be a little bit higher than just starting out. It can look quite intimidating when you're working on it. And I worked up a test swatch last night. So this is what the crocodile stitch looks like. And this is just made with Red Heart with Love metallic. So it has like the shimmer in it. And like I said, this is just a test swatch. Now, when looking at the crocodile stitch, as you can tell, it looks like scales. I always thought it looked like dragon scales. But they call it the crocodile stitch. And as you can see, each row is not so much laying on top of each other as it is laying in between. So you have these two scales here, and then there's one up there, and then there's two right above it. Which, let me flatten that one out. So then again, 2, 1, 2. And that's how you will work this up. And I'm going to show you exactly how it's done. So grab your hook, grab your yarn, and let's get started. And today for this tutorial, I chose a darker color, which is my normal purple because I love purple. But you can use whatever color, whatever yarn you want. As long as you follow the steps, you should be just fine. So I have my Red Heart with Love lavender. I think that's lavender. I'm not 100% sure, to be completely honest with you. And then I have my eye hook, my 5.5 millimeter. It's a clover hook. And the first thing we're going to do, when you're doing a crocodile stitch, you want to do the stitches in groups of 6. Now, a lot of tutorials out there tell you to use groups of 3, but the way I was taught was that you use groups of 6. Now, when you're doing this, you're going to, of course, start off with your slip stitch. And you are going to want to do groups of 6. And we're going to do 3 groups of 6. So we're going to chain. And this first one doesn't count, okay? So don't worry about the first chain you made. Now, from here on out, you're going to count out 6. And like I said, we're going to do 3 groups of 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's one group. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 2 groups. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And that's our 3 groups. And it's not that big. It doesn't have to be huge. So this is just for tutorial's sake. This would, I guess, be the size of maybe like a scarf or some kind of like table liner or runner, not liner, some kind of table runner or something like that. If you want to continue to make yours bigger, like to say, like to make like an Afghan or just like a baby throw blanket or something, you of course can go bigger. Just keep it in groups of 6 and remember that that first chain doesn't count, okay? And then when you get to the desired length you want, I want you to put your hand on it. I want you to put your hand on that first chain right there by the hook, like this. And you're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Now, you're probably wondering why you chained the 3 and why you're holding on to that 1 stitch. Well, in my other tutorials, I've showed you how to do a double crochet. But we're going to double crochet into that 4th chain from the hook. So you have your 3 and then that 4th chain from the hook. You're just going to do a double crochet into that chain. So essentially what you're going to do is that chain 3 counts as a double crochet. And then you did another double crochet. So that's 2 double crochets into that stitch. And then we're going to chain 2. 1, 2. We're going to skip 2 stitches because you want to leave enough space for it to flatten out. If you don't skip the 2 stitches, your crocodile stitches will be bunched up. Essentially, they'll be pushed in like this and you won't be able to see the crocodile stitch. So you want to make sure you're spacing them out like I have up here. you want to make sure you're doing the chain 2 to give them some space to fan out like this. Okay? So we're going to chain the 2. We're going to yarn over. We're going to skip 2 stitches. Now, when you're checking for your stitches, as you know, we're not going to count the one that we're already in. 1, 2. So we're going to skip those 2 stitches and go into the 3rd stitch. So we're going to yarn over, find that 3rd stitch. So 1, 2. So into the 3rd, we're going to insert, yarn over, pull through, and we should have 3 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Let's do that one more time. Yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And we're going to do that the entire way, all the way to the end. So yarn over, 3rd chain, insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And remember, you want 2 stitches in each hook. Or I'm sorry, in each chain. So I'm going to keep going here. This was actually one of the hardest stitches for me to learn because there's a lot of different tutorials out there on how to do this, and you know, people have like the easy ways and the long way, and I got so confused that I just kind of figured it out on my own. So hopefully this is helpful to you all. And again, remember, if you need some time, if I'm going too fast, which is a possibility, please feel free to pause the video at any time. Don't get discouraged or frightened by the stitch. It's just a stitch. All right, and now we're at the end. So we're going to go ahead and do our last set of double crochets into that 1st chain. And you want to make sure your stitches aren't too tight because you don't want it to ball up. But this is what, see, that's what happens to how it kind of curls a little bit. I'm a tight tension stitcher. But essentially, that's what you want it to look like. So each of the double crochets has 2 in each stitch. So you have 2, and you should have an odd number. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's how you know you did it correctly, because you're going to end up on an odd number. So take a few minutes, try this out, pause the video, take a deep breath. You can do it. Just keep following along with me. I'll try to go as slow as possible and explain it the best way I can. So go ahead and pause the video. Make sure you have what you need, and I'll come right back to show you what we do for step 2. All right, how do we do? Did we get our foundation chain? Now the foundation chain, which is this here, it looks like the little railroad track or whatever you want to call it. This is how each crocodile stitch beginning will start. You're going to have your 2 double crochets, and the reason why you want an odd number isn't because you want it to, essentially it's because you want it to overlap each other. So you want the stitches to lay like this. So you have the 2 stitches here and then the 1 up here. Essentially, we're working on this row here. So what we're going to do next, we're going to turn our work and we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. Simple, right? All right. So the next thing you want to focus on is the crocodile stitch isn't worked on top of the stitches. It's one of the few stitches that isn't worked on the top. You actually work in these little posts, which is why you wanted to have 2 double crochets in each of the chain stitches. So what we're going to do first is we're going to yarn over, and the whole thing, as long as you can do a double crochet, you can do a crocodile stitch. It might seem intimidating, but don't let that stop you from giving it a try. Okay? So just like I said, follow along, pause at any time, and don't worry about it. If you make a mistake, we can always fix it. So then what we're going to do next is we're going to yarn over. We're going to go into the first stitch. So what we're going to do is this first post on the edge, after you did your chain 3, we're going to double crochet onto that post. See? Easy. Now, we're going to keep doing that. We're going to do it another 3 times. So 3 more double crochets. There's 2, 3, and 4. Now, the crocodile stitch has 5 double crochets going down each side. Now, you're probably wondering, but I only did 4. Yes, but your chain 3 on this row counts as your first double crochet. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we're ready to go over to the next post, which is the same one the one that's in the same chain stitch. But before we get there, we have to chain 1, because then that will give you the point at the bottom. Okay? So chain 1. And then what I like to do to make it easier on myself is I like to pinch my work. So I pinch it so that only that post is sticking up, because you don't want to mistakenly put it somewhere else or on the bottom chain or the top chain up here. You want to make sure you get it on that same post. So we're going to go ahead and pinch it so that only that post is sticking up, just like that. Okay? And then we're going to double crochet. Now, when you double crochet on the other side, you double crochet down. And this is the part that gets a lot of people. Don't be intimidated by it. It's just a stitch. So when you started up here, you double crochet this way. You did your chain 1. And then to go into this next post, you're not going to start from the top. You're actually going to start from the bottom of this post. And then we're going to double crochet up. So, we already have 1. We're going to do 4 more. So, yarn over, insert your hook in between the space here, come out. That's 2 double crochets, 3 double crochets, 4, and 5. Congratulations! You just made your first crocodile stitch. It actually kind of looks like a heart, doesn't it? Isn't it neat? Alright, let's keep going. So, once you're done with that crocodile stitch, before you can move on to the next one, you want to chain 1. It kind of like locks it in there so that that stitch doesn't come out. So, you're probably thinking, oh, well, that's easy. All I have to do is keep doing that for all of them. Wrong. What you're going to do next is actually, you're going to skip this set. So you did that first one on the edge. You're going to skip this one because, like I said before, you don't want your crocodile stitches all bunched up. So you have to leave some room for it to fan out. It's going to fan out over those 2 stitches. But don't worry, in our next row, we'll come back to those. I'll show you. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to double crochet at the top of the next post. So not the first one right afterwards, but the one right next to that one. So again, you can pinch your work if it makes it easier. Just make sure you're only going into that post. So it's in between those 2 posts. It's in between those 2 posts where you want to go. So how you have the 2 posts just like this. You're going to go in between those 2 and do your next double crochet. Just like that. Now, again, you can pinch your work if it makes it easier. You're going to do 4 more double crochets onto that same post. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now, if it gets too bunchy or there's not enough room, feel free to push those stitches up. So you can always just kind of move them around a little bit so that you have room on that post to make those 5 double crochets. So, what do we do next? We chain 1. And again, that chain 1 is going to create the point at the bottom for your crocodile stitch. Now, we're going to turn again. So right now we're working like this. So here's our first stitch, or our first crocodile stitch. This is the one we're working on. But you don't want your work to look like that, so we have to turn it so that we can get back to that second post in that chain. And then we're going to pinch it again and kind of you don't want to tug it too hard, but you want to pull it up so you see exactly where you're going. So right now you should have something that looks like this. So you have one full one and a half one. But let's make it a full, shall we? So we're going to double crochet 5 more times into the second post in that chain. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now that should be your second crocodile stitch. We're going to do our chain 1 now to let us know that we're ready to move on to the next one. And then when you look at it, they should lay flat. Sorry, there's a shadow there. They should lay flat just like that. Which is why, again, you want to skip that one in the middle because you don't want it to be bunched up. You want it to fan out so that you can see the scale on the crocodile stitch. So let's move on to the next one. So again, we're going to skip that one. And we're going to do it into this one. Now remember, you want to get in between those two. You don't want to do both of them at the same time. You want to get in between those 2 stitches. So you're going to yarn over. You're going to insert at the top. When I say the top, I don't mean into the stitch up here. I mean the top of the post. So get to the top of the post. Yarn over. And again, you can pinch it if it's easy for you. Pull it through. Yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, pull through 2. We're going to do 4 more. 1. Oh, hold on, I lost a strand there. 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you get to this point and you see that there's not a whole lot of space left on that post, like I said, just push it up a little bit. Take that bottom part and push it, and it gives you a little bit more room to make that last stitch. So 5. And then we're going to chain 1. We're going to turn and find the second post in that same chain. So it's going to be this one here. And again, we can pull it up a little bit so we can see it a little bit better. And as you can see, there's like a little hole there. We're going to yarn over, and we're going to do our 5 double crochets starting at the bottom of that post. And we're going to work our double crochets going up this time. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And chain 1. Have a look. So now you should have 3 crocodile stitches. Alright, and then for the very last one, we're going to do the same thing. So we're just going to double crochet starting at the top of the post, find the post, and this is going to be a little bit tricky for you because you're on the end, so you're going to do it around that chain 3 when you're going back up the second side, but the first side we're going to do in the first double crochet you made. So on that post at the top, you're going to go ahead and do your 5 double crochets starting from the top. So if you didn't notice the pattern there, you're essentially working down one side and then up the other side. 2, 3, 4, and 5. And if you notice also, after you do every chain 5, you're going to do a chain 1. And then for the very last, we're going to say post, even though it's a chain 3, that's our last post, we're going to do the 5 double crochets working up. So start at the bottom, do your first double crochet, and then work your way up. 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this will be your first row of your crocodile stitch. Now we're going to do 4 rows together, and then I'm going to let you loose and have you do it on your own and see how you do. So, as you can see, the key points to remember is that you have to have a foundation row, which is this row back here, and if you turn it around, you can see it. There's the one you skipped, and there's one you skipped. There's also one you skipped right there. So that's 1, 2, 3. And then how many double posts did we have? We had 7. So you had 3 back there that we skipped, and 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 crocodile stitches. So that tells you right there we did it correctly, because all together that makes 7. So, moving right along, but before we do, I'm going to have you pause the video here so that you can make sure that you're caught up, that you're understanding. If not, feel free to rewind the video, take a deep breath. You might not get it on your first time, and that's fine. It might take you a couple of times to get it, but don't give up. I know you can do it. And as soon as you get this down, it'll be second nature to you. So take a second, pause the video, and when we come back, we'll work on how to go up to the next row. All right, so how are we doing? Did we get it? Hopefully so. Now, there's 2 rows when it comes to crocodile stitch. You have your foundation row, and then your crocodile stitch row. So, and it's both rows are equally as important because you can't have one without the other. So, to move up, we're going to turn our work. And as you can see, we're working on the back side. So, first things first, we're going to slip stitch. And where? Right in between your crocodile stitch. So, you're going to go right in the middle. You're going to yarn over, pull that through, and then pull it through the loop. And then we're going to chain 2. So, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. Now, what you want to do for your foundation chain is exactly what you did for the first one. So instead of having, hold on one second. Sorry about that. So we're at our chain 2, and just like the foundation chain from the first row, you're going to do the exact same thing except for there's no chain. So where do you do it? You do it in between each space of your crocodile stitches. So we're going to do 1 more double crochet here. And then we're going to chain 2. 1, 2. But you want to make sure you get every space. So those spaces that we skipped, like right here, you're also going to do 2 double crochets into there as well. So you're going to do your chain 2, and then you're going to do a double crochet here. And then you're going to do another double crochet in that same space. So you want 2 double crochets in between each space. And then you're going to chain 2 to get to the next one. So we're in a crocodile stitch. So we're going to yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull out, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. We're going to do that one more time. Yarn over, insert your hook in the space between, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, chain 2. And we're going to do that the whole way down. So find that space that you skipped. Now when you're doing this, you want to make sure, especially for the ones that you skipped, you want to make sure you're getting in between the scales, because if you look, those 2 pieces aren't together, like they're apart. This essentially seals them together so that they don't come apart, or so that there's not a big gap or space there. So you want to make sure you're in between the crocodile stitch and you're not in the stitches, because one of the mistakes I would always make was I would always put it in there thinking that that's how you held it down, and it is not. So when you're doing this for the skip stitches, you want to make sure that you go in between those two posts and in between the crocodile stitch, which if you could just put your finger in the front of it, you can push your finger in between those two to kind of move them out of the way, and then find the space between those two posts, and that's where you're going to do your double crochet. So 1, and we're going to do 1 more in that same space. So wiggle things around a little bit, find that space. 2. And then we're going to chain 2. 1, 2. And we're going to go in between the crocodile stitch, 2 double crochets. 2. And then we're going to chain 2 again. And the skip space, again, wiggle those scales and get between them. And then go in between the stitches for those 2 posts. And then we're going to double crochet in there as well. So 2 double crochets there. And then you chain 2, 1, 2. And then for the last one, we're going to go right in between those crocodile stitches again. So 2 double crochets there. 1, 2. And every time you move up a row, this is how you will move up. You will do a foundation chain, and then you do your scales, foundation chain, scales, and you'll keep following that pattern all the way throughout your project. So once you get here, you'll see, just like the ones at the bottom, you have your foundation chain here. Take a second to pause the video. Make sure you have everything correct. So let's count how many doubles we have now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. See how we kept the 7? All right, so take a second, pause the video, check to make sure your counting is correct. Count those stitches. I cannot stress that enough. You count those stitches. So count to make sure you have everything correct. Count to make sure you have 2 double crochets going through each. This is one of those stitches where if you miss a double crochet in your foundation chain, it will essentially mess up the entire thing, because you can't go down one side. Say you forgot one, or you did the double crochets of them together. When you went down one side, how are you supposed to come up the other side to make the chain like this? So you want to make sure that each foundation chain has 2 double crochets in each of the stitch spaces. So take a second, pause the video there, and when we come back, we'll move up to the next row. Okay, how did we do? Are we ready to move on? I hope so, because we're getting ready to go up to row 3. So for row 3, this one might be a little tricky for you. Hopefully not. Hopefully I can explain this so that you can understand. You're smart. You can get this. So you're going to chain 1, which you would do when you're starting on this row. And I know you're probably thinking, oh, we're going to go into this one and do the same thing. No, not necessarily. Now, when you do the crocodile stitches, as I have in my little tester piece here, like I said, you want those scales to not lay directly on top of each other. That doesn't look appealing if they just lays right on top of each other. Like, there's no way to tell that it's a scale and they look all uniform. It's not supposed to do that. It's supposed to be kind of zigzag so that you can see each and every scale, so it actually looks like scales. So I'm going to pull my thing here so you can see it. So we're going to skip that first foundation chain we did of the 2 double crochets, and we're going to move into the next one so that they lay in between the first 2 that we did. See how they lay in between the first 2 from the previous row? That's what we're going to be working on. Don't worry, Don't let it intimidate you. It's not hard, and I'm going to show you exactly how we do it. So after you did that chain 1, we're going to forget that one. We're going to just act like that one doesn't exist. We're just going to reach all the way over to the second one. Now, just like I said, you're going to go in between the posts so that you're only working with one post, because one post is for going up, one post is for going down. The first post you work is for going down, so we're going to start at the top, and you can pinch your work if it's easier for you. And you're going to do your double crochets into the post, on that post there. So 1, 2, do you remember how many posts we're supposed to do? If you said 5, you're correct. So we have 3, 4, and 5. All right. So now that we have our 5, what do we do next? If you said chain 1, you're absolutely correct. See, you're smart. You got this. Yes, you do. Stop it. Okay. So you got your 5. You change your 1. Next, we're going to turn it so that you can get to that second post. You're going to yarn over. Now, you want to make sure you're not skipping and going all the way over here or getting this chain up here. Don't go all crazy on me. Just stick to where you're supposed to be at, right here. And then that post right next to what you were just working on. Okay? So, you have your 5 going down and your chain 1. Now, we're going to pinch our work and pull up a little bit so that we can see where we're going next. We're going right here. Can you see that? Of course you can. All right. And at the bottom of that post, you're going to do your first double crochet, and you're going to work your way up and do how many? 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And what do we do next? You got it. We're going to chain 1. All right, so then if you look at it, that scale is laying directly in between those first 2 scales. So let's keep going. Again, we're going to skip this one. We're just going to skip it. We'll come back to it later. And we're going to go into this one. And we're going to do our 5 double crochets. Again, if at any point in time you need to pause the video, you can even play this video in slower motion. I'll make sure to put text in the video so that you can read also what you're supposed to be doing next. I'll try to make it not so long text because I'm not going to have a whole lot of places to put it. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we're going to chain 1. We're going to turn, find that second post. You got it. And we're going to do our 5 double crochets going up. You can do this. It's not hard. If you've gotten this far, you've already made it this far, so just keep going. 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we're going to chain 1 to lock it into place. And then we're going to go to the last crocodile stitch for this row. So, we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to skip this one that goes directly into the center of the previous row's crocodile stitch. And we're going to move into those 2 here. So, in between those posts, we're going to do our 5 double crochets on that first post. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Chain 1. Let's turn our work. Find that second post. Let's do 5 double crochets going up now. 1. Let's untangle our yarn apparently. And 2. 3, 4, and 5. Chain 1. All right. Now that's the end of that row, essentially. After you did that chain 1, you're going to come to the last group of double crochets here. And we're just going to slip stitch. So if you remember, we're going to go in between those 2 double crochets, yarn over, pull out a loop, and then pull that loop through the loop on your hook. And you just slip stitch. Congratulations. All right, so your second row should look just like this. Now, you have 3 scales here. And you're probably wondering, but the last one had 4. That is correct. But on this row, when you turn it over, the reason why you only have 3 is because you skipped 4. The 2 at the top, or the 2 on the ends, and then the 2 here in the middle. So because you skipped those 4, you're only going to have 3 scales on this row. And that's if you did it like I did. You should have, essentially, it's like math. So 4 plus 3 equals 7. So if 4 plus 3 equals 7, how many double crochet foundation chains should you have? 7. So that's how I see that. Sorry if that's confusing to you. That's one of the ways I got it in my head to keep count of how many foundation chains I've made. And when I say foundation chains, I mean the 2 double crochets, not just 1 double crochet. The 2 double crochets into 1 section or stitch. So take a second, pause the video, take a look at your work, admire your work, be proud of yourself. You've gotten this far. We're going to go up 1 row. We're going to go up 2 more rows. But for right now, you're going to pause your work, take a look at it, give yourself a hand, pat yourself on the back. Congratulations, you've just completed round 4. So, or row 4. So, now that we got this one, we're going to show you how to go up yet again. So take a second again, pause the video, check your work. If you're missing a stitch or something, go back and correct it. Remember, in crocheting, you have the creativity and ability to make anything possible. Even if you make a mistake, mistakes aren't mistakes in crocheting. Mistakes are unique touches. They're your mark on that work. There are not going to be 2 works that are exactly alike. So think of your mistakes as unique touches and not so much as mistakes. So go ahead and pause the video here, check your work, and we'll be back to do row 5. All right, see you in a few minutes. All right, are you ready? Let's keep going. So we're going to chain 3 here. 1, 2, 3. Now you'll notice you're working the row 2 different ways. So when you're working this way, when you can see the scales this way, you know that you should be working the actual crocodile stitch. When you turn your work is when you're working the foundation stitch. So when you're working the foundation stitch, you want to make sure you're looking at the back of your work. If you're not, go back, rewind the video to the beginning and see where exactly you went wrong. Because for when I started this, I also started doing it where I was doing it all from the front and I couldn't figure out what I was doing. And then I realized that I had made a mistake in the beginning and had to go back. So you should be working on the back of your work if you've gotten to this point because you're working on your foundation chain. So that chain 3 that we just made is our first double crochet into that section of the foundation from the previous row. And so we're going to work 1 more double crochet in there. And then we're going to do what? Yep, we're going to chain 2. See, you're smart. So we're going to yarn over. And we're going to go into the next space between the 2 double crochets, which is that crocodile stitch. We're going to do 2 double crochets there. 1 and 2. And again, if I'm going too fast, feel free to slow the video down and just look at the text and listen to my funny voice because you slowed me down. Or pause the video and work at your own pace. What I would suggest if you're just learning how to do this is watch 1 complete row. Just watch it first, then try to work it with me. Sorry, I'm untangling yarn while I'm talking to you. Gives me a reason to untangle my yarn. So I would listen to what I have to say first, watch me do it, and then watch it again for a second time and try to do it with me. It actually helps you retain the information a little bit better so that you know how to do it by yourself when it comes to you doing it on your own. So when we get to this point, we're going to chain 2. 1, 2. And those chain 2s are very important, so you don't want to skip them. So next we're going to go into the one foundation space that we skipped. So right here. So we're going to yarn over and we're going to do 2 double crochets in there. 1 and 2. And again, you want to make sure you're not going into any of the stitches from the crocodile stitches from the beginning. If that will focus for you. Will it focus? There we go. So you want to make sure you're not going into the stitches of your crocodile stitches because you don't want them pinned down like that. So go ahead and do it in between those 2. We're going to chain 2. We're going to yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2 loops on your hook, or mess that up and have to redo it all over again. Yarn over, pull through the last 2 loops on your hook. One more time. And this is one of those patterns, as long as you can double crochet, you can do it. So we got the chain 2 there. We're going to yarn over, insert our hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. We're going to do that one more time in that skip space from the previous row. And we're going to chain 2. And then we're going to do 2 double crochets in the next space. See, this is super easy. It looks intimidating as a stitch, but in reality, it's so easy. Which is why at the beginning of the video, I said I didn't want to say it's an expert stitch, because really all you have to know is how to do a double crochet. And then for the last one here, we're going to do our last 2 double crochets. 1 and 2. All right. You're doing it. So we should have how many? 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Good job. All right. Pause the video. Check your work. When we come back, we'll work on those crocodile stitches. All right. Are you ready? So we're going to turn our work, which means we're going to be working those crocodile stitches. So to work those crocodile stitches, we're going to chain up 3. 1, 2, 3. And if you remember, that chain 3 counts as your first double crochet. And we're not going to skip these 2 foundation chains here. We're actually going to work those this time so that they, again, lay opposite of the ones from the previous row. So can you guess how many crocodile stitches we're going to have on this row? If you guessed 4, you were absolutely correct. So go ahead and do your 5 double crochets and onto that first post. Or I'm sorry, your 4, because the chain 3 counts as 1. So on this post, you're only going to do 4. So it's 3 and 4. And if you look, that and counting that first chain 3 and the 4 that you did, that makes 5. So you do chain 1. We turn our work, pinch it. Now, okay, just in case, I'm trying to get some more yarn here. And my chain 1 came out. Don't worry, I saw that. When you turn your work, you see that you have that post there, which is of course the post you're going to go into. So when you fold it back, if you fold down that stitch you just, the crocodile stitch part you just made, and pull up on that post, it tells you exactly where you need to go. So go ahead and do that. Sometimes that's a lot easier than trying to do it with it sitting up regularly. So we're going to do our 5 double crochets going up. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. chain 1. All right. So next we're going to skip the very next one, and we're going to go and work into these 2. So we're going to yarn over. We're going to insert our hook in between those 2 double crochets so that you're only working on the post. And then we're going to go ahead and do our 5 double crochets going down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to chain 1. We're going to turn our work so that we can see that second post in that same foundation chain. So what that means is, of course, you did this side, so now you got to do the second one. So we're going to yarn over. We're going to pinch it. Pinch it so you can see it. And then we're going to work our 5 double crochets going up on this side. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I keep putting my elbow on it. 4 and 5. All right, and then we're going to chain 1. We're going to skip one of the foundation chains. We're going to go into that next one. And again, if your work is curling up like mine, that means you have a tight tension, so you need to relax and not make it so tight. Mines are always like that, so I'm just used to it. But when you're working it, you don't want it to curl up. So, not unless you're making something that's supposed to be curling up. So, 2, I'm sorry, that's 3, 4, and 5. Chain 1, turn, find that second post, and then we're going to work up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We're going to chain 1. We're going to skip, and we're going to go into that last foundation chain. So, at this point, you should know exactly what to do. So let's do it. Chain 5 double crochets into this stitch, not chain, it's double crochet. 5 double crochets. 3, 4, and 5. Chain 1 and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Don't forget your chain 1. All right, now let's take a look. Now, if you did this correctly, they should be sitting zigzag of each other. So you should have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then in between those 1, 2, 3, and then in between those 1, 2, 3, 4. Look how pretty that is. Isn't that gorgeous? I absolutely love this stitch, guys. I hope that this was helping you guys. If it is, don't forget to give the video a like. If you aren't already a subscriber, go ahead and subscribe. I do diamond painting and crocheting. If there's ever a stitch that you would like to see, please just comment down below which stitch it is, and I'll make sure to get a video up for you. Again, this video is for Ginger. I want to say her last name is Badell. I'm sorry if I butchered your last name, but I know your first name is Ginger. I see you often on my page. Thank you so much for being a subscriber and a loyal viewer of my channel. Again, if you ever want to see anything else on my channel, feel free to comment it down in any post, or I'm sorry, comment it in the description box or the comment section of any video, and I'll make sure to get a video up for you. So this video is for Ginger. Again, thank you, Ginger, for the suggestion. So hopefully this video was helpful for you. We're going to do 2 more rows, and then I'm going to let you guys go, okay? All right, so take a minute, pause the video, check to make sure everything counts out correctly, and when we come back, we'll work on the foundation chain, and then we'll work up our crocodile stitches. All right, guys, let's work up that foundation chain, shall we? Let's see if you guys can do this one without me having to direct you into what to do. So, I'm just going to move at a slow pace. I might even slow the video down here to show you exactly how to do it in a slow pace. And that way, if you're having any issues or you don't understand something, you can always just watch this section of the video because it's going to be super slow. So for the next, probably for the last 2 rows, I'm going to just slow everything down so you can see exactly how I'm doing it so that it's not going too fast for you. Okay, so we're going to slip stitch. We're going to chain 2. We're going to do a double crochet. Here's your first foundation. Chain 2. Okay, so we completed the foundation chain, and you should have 7 foundation. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Sorry if that was off camera for you. Let me do that one more time. So you should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. All right, so now we're going to the next row. We're going to go ahead and do that chain 3. Oh, sorry. We're going to do chain 1 because we're not going to go into that first set of foundation chains. We're going to go into the second one. Remember, you want these to sit in between the stitches, okay? And essentially, not only is it sitting in between the stitches, it's also hiding that foundation chain from the previous row. So you can see it right here trying to peek through. Peekaboo. Okay, so we don't want it to do that. We want it to be hidden. We're going to hide it. We're going to hide it with a crocodile stitch. So we're going to do our 5 double crochets into the next here. 2, 3, 4, and 5. We're going to chain 1. We're going to turn our work. We're going to find that second post of that foundation chain, which is right here. We are then going to go into there. We're going to work up our 5 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We're going to chain 1, skip 1, work our next crocodile stitch in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Again, if I'm going too fast, please feel free to pause the video, slow the video down, do whatever it is you need to make sure that you understand how exactly this is being done. So, since we did our chain 1, we're going to go ahead and do our 5 double crochets going up. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Chain 1, skip foundation chain, go into this one here, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, chain 1, turn our work, find that next post, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then we're just going to slip stitch into that last foundation chain of this row. All right, folks, there we have it. That there is your crocodile stitch. Ginger, I hope this helps. Anyone else watching, I hope it helps you as well. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in to this tutorial on the crocodile stitch. Again, if you like the video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please feel free to leave them down in the comment section below. Also, if there's a stitch that you're having issues with that you would like for me to explain, leave that down in the comment section below as well, and I'll do what I can to make sure that I get a video up for you. Again, this is the crocodile stitch. There's a couple of key points that you want to remember. As long as you can do double crochet, count to 5 and 6, you can do this stitch. Don't let the stitch intimidate you. You intimidate those stitches, okay? So, also you want to remember that each row is going to have an opposite number, but they should count up to 7. So what I mean by that is you have 4 crocodile stitches down here, then you have 3, and then you have 4, and then you have 3. And that should continue on for however many crocodile stitches you have all the way throughout your project unless it tells you otherwise. Either way, that's it for me today, guys. Thank you again for tuning in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell if you want to be notified any and every time I put up a video. Also, do remember that I do have playlists on my channel. So if at any point in time you don't want to watch a diamond painting video, or if you don't want to watch a crochet video, please feel free to go into the playlist and watch whatever video your little heart desires. Again, thank you guys so much. I'm Miss Crochet and Coffee, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!